A blast at a highly protected military site in Iran shouldn't be possible, not without being seen, confirmed, and globally verified. Yet, in late January 2026, reports spread rapidly online about a sudden explosion at or near one of Iran's most sensitive military and nuclear-linked complexes, a location long considered off-limit to independent observers and foreign intelligence. From the outside, the event looked like something explosive, literally and figuratively, in a nation already locked in tension with global powers. But as the dust settles and authorities speak, the truth remains elusive, buried amidst denials, conflicting accounts, geopolitical anxiety, and a long history of mistrust. The Sunday Guardian plus one late on a January night. Social media users and local residents shared snippets of footage and eyewitness accounts claiming a bright flash and a loud explosion near the Parchin military complex, a sprawling installation southeast of Tehran that is closely watched by analysts for its alleged links to weapons development and nuclear activities. The initial posts sparked alarm. Some viewers saw a fireball or flash of light in the distance. Others reported hearing loud booms that shook nearby neighborhoods. These early reports spread quickly across platforms, amplifying speculation about the possibility of an accidental detonation, a covert strike by foreign intelligence, or something far more secretive. The Sunday Guardian, before independent confirmation could be established, however, Iranian official sources issued denials. Authorities insisted that no explosion had taken place at a nuclear or military site, and attributed the sounds heard by locals to routine military tests. According to state officials, scheduled exercises or maintenance activities had occurred within the base, and there was no danger to civilians or evidence of structural damage. Whether that denial reflects reality, damage control, or controlled messaging is one of the central mysteries fueling global curiosity and suspicion. Update news in a world where nuclear implementations, covert operations, and intelligence games are part of the strategic landscape. Episodes like this underscore the difficulty of discerning fact from rumor, truth from propaganda, and accident from design. They raise fundamental questions about Iran's internal security, its engagement with the outside world, and the balance of power in the Middle East, especially at a time when tensions with United States, Israel, and regional neighbors are already high. To understand why a purported explosion near a hidden or heavily guarded base matters so much, it is necessary to delve beyond the raw reports and into the context that surrounds them. Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure has been subject to intense international scrutiny for decades. Intelligence agencies from multiple nations have monitored sites like Parchin, Natanz, Fordo, and others because of concerns over possible weapons research, particularly explosive testing that could be linked to nuclear weaponization efforts. Satellite imagery, spent infrastructure, and historical documents, some leaked or captured, have painted a picture of facilities that are both strategically important and tightly controlled. Analysts at the Institute for Science and International Security, for example, have repeatedly identified areas at Parchin where high explosive tests relevant to nuclear triggers were conducted years ago, even as Iran denies current weaponization intentions. Critical threats. The Parchin complex is located just southeast of Tehran and has long been cited by Western agencies and nuclear watchdogs as a particularly sensitive area. It was flagged in the early 2000s for conducting hybrid, dynamic experiments and high explosive chamber tests that, in theory, could be relevant to the development of nuclear weapon triggers. Iran has always maintained that its activities at Parchin are conventional military research and not related to a nuclear weapons program. But the opacity of the site and restricted access granted Two international inspectors have kept doubts alive. Critical threats even prior to the January reports. There were signs of unusual activity at these sensitive sites. New satellite imagery published in late January 2026 showed fresh construction and fortification efforts at multiple nuclear-linked complexes, including at Parchin and other facilities damaged in past conflicts. Analysts noted reinforced structures, roofing over previously exposed areas, and expanded excavation that could be aimed at burying and protecting sensitive installations from aerial or remote attacks. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has faced challenges gaining access and verifying activities at times, further complicating efforts to assess the real state of affairs on the ground. The week, adding texture to this backdrop, is a turbulent year of military and covert actions that saw hostilities spread across borders. In mid-2025, Israel launched multiple strikes on Iranian targets, claiming to have damaged nuclear weapons, linked infrastructure, and air defense systems. Reports from that period indicated that parts of the Parchin complex and other missile production sites suffered damage, though Iranian authorities often described the hits as limited or symbolic, a narrative that some analysts view as an attempt to downplay the impact. Critical threats, those earlier strikes, were part of a broader campaign of military pressure that involved not only Israel but also the United States. In June 2025, U.S. forces reportedly targeted deeply buried Iranian nuclear facilities using long-range weaponry, targeting centers like Fordo, which had been shielded underground to evade detection and bombing. The U.S. described these operations as aimed at slowing Tehran's nuclear progression, while Iran protested the attacks as violations of its sovereignty and threats to regional stability. These events heightened mistrust and sharpened the geopolitical divide. The economic times within Iran itself, the backdrop has been equally dramatic. The nation has endured significant internal unrest, with widespread protests spreading across cities over economic issues and government policies. The state response has been forceful, involving crackdowns, arrests, and restrictions on communication networks. The Iranian leadership, in turn, has emphasized national unity and resistance to external pressure, insisting that no foreign power would dictate Iran's internal or defense policies. These domestic tensions add a layer of internal vulnerability to any external incident, particularly one involving a military facility. The Sunday Guardian, amid all this, the reported January explosion, whether real, exaggerated, or misreported, struck a nerve. In today's world where information travels instantly and narratives are shaped rapidly by competing interests, an unverified report can have strategic impact. If global powers believe there was a genuine detonation at a facility associated with weapons or nuclear research, they may interpret it as evidence of escalation or vulnerability. Conversely, a denial from Tehran can be seen as cover-up or censorship. Neither interpretation is fully satisfying without independent evidence. The Sunday Guardian, the absence of confirmation from independent sources, means the world is left in a gray zone. Analysts and intelligence agencies will undoubtedly monitor satellite data, communications intercepts, regional military movements, and open source intelligence to triangulate what may have occurred. Publicly, however, no credible images have been released showing damage that can be unquestionably tied to an explosion at the site. No satellite photos showing collapsed infrastructure, scorch marks, or cratered terrain have been verified, and no international institution has issued a statement confirming an incident. This ambiguity itself becomes a kind of story, not of a confirmed blast, but of uncertainty in a landscape rife with hidden installations and strategic obfuscation. The Sunday Guardian: this is not the first time that unexplained explosions have sparked controversy in Iran. Past years saw accidental detonations at industrial sites and chemical facilities, such as a massive explosion at Bandar Abbas port in 2025 that killed dozens and injured hundreds. That incident, linked to the volatile chemicals stored at the port, was clearly an accident and widely reported with verified data. But even in that case, state authorities initially tried to frame the narrative in controlled terms before being forced to acknowledge casualties and damage when satellite imagery and ground reports corroborated the destruction. Wikipedia: such episodes reveal a broader pattern. When a blast occurs in Iran, whether at a port, industrial facility, or strategic military site, the immediate official response is often to minimize, deny, or explain it away as routine or unrelated. This approach, while intended to maintain public calm and avoid admitting vulnerabilities, has the side effect of fueling speculation, particularly when foreign media pick up unverified footage or rumors before authoritative clarification is available. Thus, the public discourse becomes a mix of official word, on-the-ground chatter, and global interpretation, not all of it grounded in evidence. Wikipedia: the broader geopolitical context also cannot be ignored. If this reported blast at a military site was an accident, it raises questions about safety protocols, maintenance standards, and the handling of potentially hazardous materials. Military research facilities, especially those dealing with explosives and advanced weaponry, are inherently risky environments. Accidental detonations, although rare, can occur when protocols lapse or systems fail. The consequences of such accidents at sensitive sites are compounded by the political implications, not just for Iran, but for global security. The Sunday Guardian: if, on the other hand, the blast was the result of sabotage or an attack, that suggests a level of covert penetration that would worry defense planners worldwide. Covert operations targeting vital military infrastructure are typically attributed to intelligence agencies of rival states or proxy forces acting on their behalf. In the Middle East, where Iran's rivals include Israel, certain Gulf states, and indirectly Western powers, the possibility of behind-the-scenes actions aimed at disrupting capabilities is not implausible. Past incidents have been attributed to cyberattacks, covert strikes, or intelligence disruptions without direct public admission from the parties involved. The Sunday Guardian: yet without hard proof, assigning blame risks further instability. If false rumors of foreign attacks circulate widely without evidence, they can provoke escalatory responses, heighten nationalistic fervor, and justify aggressive defense postures. This is a dangerous dynamic. A rumor of an explosion can be used as a pretext for policy decisions, military deployments, or retaliatory strategies that could have real consequences, even if the original event never happened as reported. The Sunday Guardian: there is also the third possibility, that the reported blast was misreported, misattributed, or simply not connected to the sensitive site in question. In conflict zones and high-tension environments, it is not uncommon for unrelated events to be conflated, misinterpreted, or incorrectly located. Videos shot miles away or misidentified landmarks can trigger viral misconceptions that spread before verification. Social media platforms accelerate this process, often blurring the line between genuine evidence and misleading impressions. What ultimately matters to policymakers, analysts, and the global public is not just whether a blast occurred, but what this episode reveals about the state of information, trust, and transparency in international security affairs. When authorities are opaque, when independent verification is hard to obtain, and when rumors can circulate unchecked, the result is not clarity but confusion, and confusion itself can be weaponized by those with strategic interests. The Sunday Guardian for Iran, the signals sent by the handling of this incident, confirmed, denied, or left ambiguous, feeds into broader narratives about its relationship with the world. Tehran has long insisted its nuclear program is peaceful, even as critics point to historical evidence of weapon-related research. Satellite imagery showing reconstruction and fortification at sensitive sites underscores how important concealment and protection remain to Iranian defense strategy. The week for the United States and its allies, the question is whether such reported incidents are signals of vulnerability, provocations, or opportunities to press diplomatic or military advantage the deployment of U.S. naval forces in the region, and public statements from Washington about readiness reflect an environment in which military posturing and strategic signaling often operate in parallel with diplomatic engagement. Upday News and for the wider world, the episode illustrates a broader challenge inherent to our era. In matters of high geopolitics, truth is often the hardest casualty to recover. With multiple actors pushing competing narratives, fragmentary evidence, and high stakes riding on interpretation, certainty becomes rare. The absence of transparency, intentional or otherwise, creates fertile ground for speculation, fear, and misinterpretation. The Sunday Guardian, as analysts continue to monitor satellite imagery, government statements, and open-source intelligence, one thing remains clear. The question of what caused the reported blast is far from settled. Whether it was a simple accident, a covert attack, or a misunderstanding amplified by rumor and poor information control, the lack of clarity itself becomes part of the story. In a region where strategic installations are shrouded in secrecy and global tensions are high, an unexplained explosion, or even a claimed one, can send ripples far beyond its point of origin, shaping perceptions and policies in ways that are impossible to ignore. And so, until irrefutable evidence is provided, the truth behind this apparent blast at a hidden base remains just that, hidden.